kind of feel like I'm dressed like the kid in this movie would be dressed as an adult. Was this a nice way to wind down, honey?
All I want to do is get in my pajamas and go to sleep and take a shower.
That, according to this movie, those are the last two things you need to be doing, considering this is almost a biopic. Yep. It is the same job that you have.
I agreed to see this movie with you, and then when I got home from work today, which, what I do for a job is a nanny job.
Yeah.
I work with kids. But I had not a really great day at work today, and I'm like, I am not in the mood to see a movie where there's terrorizing kids in a movie where she's a nanny.
Did it make you go like...
And then let's throw in some spiders in the movie, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, not just...
That is not a way for me to wind down. I really did not want... It's not like I thought... I knew this movie wasn't going to be great. It's a January horror movie, but I was not... Right now, I was not in the mood to see it.
Would you rather watch this or Doolittle again?
Well, because of this... My day at work today was not great. Like, my kid did not want to do her homework. And the other one was throwing a temper tantrum, and I had to deal with two whirlwinds at once. I'm like, God, I don't want to watch a kid movie, right? Like something with kids being terrors.
Next we'll watch The Good Son. We'll watch Twisted with Christian Slater. We'll watch The Innocents, The Bad Seed. Watching this though, were you kind of like, oh, maybe the kids were all right today? After what happens in this movie.
No, I love my kids.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, I need to unwind after work. It's like, okay, well, your job's kind of easy, I guess. I mean, not easy, but, you know.
My job's easy.
Well, I'm saying I'm trying to make a comparison to your job, I guess. I guess
I
don't know, if you had a whole bunch of internet trolls actually come to our house and like, and that was like an actual movie where internet trolls come to your house and actually like freak out on you or something. And
it would be a horror film.
Yeah. So it's like, if you had a really bad day at work.
Sure.
And then you had to go see that movie about internet trolls coming to your house.
I mean, it might be kind of cathartic, because I would take it, it would be like Assault on Precinct 13, only the trolls are trying to get in through the window. Be like Straw Dogs or something.
I don't know. That's the only comparison.
I mean, well, you know me. You know that when I wind down, like, I typically don't want to watch a movie, because, I mean, I do it for my job.
I'm always like, on the weekends, like, let's watch a movie. And you're like, no. I watch movies all the time.
Let's watch a TV show or something. Well, I guess maybe that movie's all right. So, this is The Turning.
It's a January horror movie.
You know, by and large, like, January horror movies, like, no, of course, they're not good, but I'll say that usually it's not like any of them, aside from maybe one or two, have ever really made my worst list.
Because it is what it is.
They're usually just forgettable and lazy and just leave no impression, really. It's why they're out in January. It's like, okay, that new Grudge wasn't good. I didn't care that much for Underwater. Ones in the past, was that January?
I think so.
Oh, I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure that was in the winter, I'm pretty sure.
Right. The Forest, or whatever it was called. Like, no, they're not good. I think Rings might have come out, like, in February of that year. They typically don't make my worst list. And not that this one would either, The Turning. But this movie is really, really bad. This movie is worse than The Grudge, that's, I think, still out right now. It's worse than The Grudge. Like, Underwater at least had a lot of ambitious elements to it, especially considering what turns up near the end of the movie. This is a mess.
I like how the opening of this movie starts with, okay, so we have to establish that it's in the 90s. So we're going to cut to a news reporter saying, Kurt Cobain died today.
Yeah, so this movie's you might not know this from the trailer. This movie is a period piece. It takes place in early mid-90s.
Which I kind of get, because if you have to, because we have cell phones now, so like you can't really do that thing where it's like, well,
probably.
Why don't you just use your cell phone or something?
Oh, as if that would have made a difference to the main character of this movie.
I know. I'm trying to be nice.
I don't know. Like, maybe that's why it took place in the 90s. Yeah. Other than that, this has no reason to be taking place in the 90s.
Well, and nostalgia thing.
But it's not even like, I mean, I will say this, like, for the most part, it just takes place during that time. It's not like the kids are now haunting a Blockbuster Video or something like that. Like, yeah, there's some like, she'll be talking on the phone to her friend, and her friend's just got a bunch of cassettes sprawled out across the table, which we all did back then.
It didn't feel forced. It wasn't like the new Stranger Things.
No, they don't pause they don't pause and start talking about Crystal Pepsi or something like that. It's not like that. It just happens to be taking place at this time. One reason why I think it might be taking place sometime in the past is there something in Finn Wolfhard's contract that everything he's in is either the 80s or the 90s, whether it's Stranger Things, whether it's this, whether it's It, whether it's the Goldfinch. Okay, yeah. Ghostbusters takes place in the present, but it's writing off 80s nostalgia.
I don't know.
Like, what is... okay, so randomly this movie just kind of takes place in the 90s, but again, like we said, fine. Like, it just kind of is just sort of taking place in that year.
It's not something I got mad about.
Not at all.
The way they established it was kind of funny, though.
It's the first shot of the movie.
It's like the way you establish it is like, Kurt Cobain died today. It's like...
Oh, that's so Finn Wolfhard could be really moody in a bummed out mood on his drums, playing his guitar with a poster of Kurt Cobain in the background. Give it 6 years, he'd be writing on his Diary X page.
Who shot Mr. Burns today?
Yeah.
O.J. Simpson trial, like, in the background or something.
Right, yeah. It's so... I mean, it's based on the turn of The Screw.
Yeah, I don't know anything
the Henry
about
James
that.
novel, and there's been adaptations of it since. There's The Innocents. There's other things as well. This is the latest one, but more so off of that book. I wasn't thinking much of that during the movie. I was thinking about a lot of other different movies. There are about 10 references to The Shining in this film. Whether it's the opening...
I was thinking a little bit of that too, yeah.
Were you noticing that?
Yeah.
Whether it's, and randomly, whether it's like the aerial shot at the beginning with the car pulling up, the hedge maze, Finn Wolfhard throwing the tennis ball up against the wall, the fact it's called The Turning. So there's random references to that. There's something else it was reminding me of too, but I'll pick that up again when I get to the ending of this movie. Everything that is stock in a movie like this that comes out this time of year is in this movie. Whether it's the jump scares, certainly, and silly ones at that, but also the fake out dream sequences.
There's a lot of that in this.
There's at least a couple of them in this movie, which always just remind me of like, oh, we need something really cool to throw in there in the trailer. It's not going to work story-wise. It's not going to have context to anything. But why not? Let's just throw this in here and it'll just be a dream sequence, even though it has nothing to do with anything. The movie's it's not scary. More often than not, it's kind of unintentionally funny. If there's anything decent I could say about it, it's not like the acting's that bad. I liked Mackenzie Davis better in this than I liked her in Terminator Dark Fate.
Is she the main
Yeah.
Finn Wolf, that's his name, Finn Wolf?
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of unintentionally funny.
He was. He was, but he looked like he was having a good time. Like Macaulay Culkin.
By the way, yeah, I know what you're going to say,
Son. Yeah.
I haven't even seen that movie, but
it's a lot better than this.
By the way, that tattoo is sexy on you.
That tattoo on you is sexy. He just comes in. You leaned over to me only 20 minutes into this film and just went, there are red flags all over the place.
Yeah.
And I go, so would you quit? And you're like, yeah, I would.
Yeah, because Finn Wolf's character... Okay, so their principal or something calls and says, can I talk to the caretaker, please?
Yeah.
Because it's like her first day, I think.
Yeah.
Or second day. And she picks up the phone, and then we don't really hear what she's saying, but she's like, oh, okay, all right. And then she talks quietly to, like, the other, like, the cook or something, and she says, so I guess he slammed some other student's face into the wall and almost killed him or something. And
he got expelled.
And it's like, yikes, red flags. I would be
beyond that, I mean, there's that, certainly, but him watching her when she's asleep.
Yeah, well, both of them do, too.
It's creepier when he does it.
Well, it's creepy. Yeah, but, like, if I was a live-in nanny, which I've never been one, but if they kept coming into my room and there was no privacy at all, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, and he's, like, kind of threatening her. He's weird with animals.
I know what you're afraid of.
Yeah, he seems to know about what she's dreaming about. The girl, I thought, did a really good job. That actress.
She's better than the girl in Dumbo.
I was thinking that too. I was I was too. I was like, man, I wish they got this kid for Dumbo. The kid in this movie was pretty good. I will
give that to I was thinking that too. I was like, I will give this to the child actors.
No, she's good.
She was fine. She was actually pretty good in this. She was a believable kid, I thought. But Finn Wolf was unintentionally funny, but it was just the writing.
And he's clearly this serial killer in training. He's clearly this little sociopathic kid who is one step close to strangling her in her sleep. So I kept thinking, like, what's even keeping her here? I go, like, beyond the kid who's obviously a psychopath and is terrorizing her through this thing, I'm sitting there just going, really? Why don't you quit? And she's her dad left her and she was like kind of an orphan or something.
Like, I know, I agree with you. I'm saying that was the motivation there.
No, I'm not buying it. Like, so because even beyond the kid obviously being crazy, she is seeing ghosts in this house. Not even that could be anything. No, there's ghosts in this house. She's seeing it in the mirror. She's seeing footprints go across the floor. This is... Aside from the kid being, like, tween Ted Bundy, like, this house is clearly haunted, and there's things screwing with me in here. Like, and then she leaves and almost does quit. She says, I'm quitting. And she's on the phone with her friend, and she goes, well, never mind. I did promise the girl I would stay. And at that moment,
She pinky swore or something.
She says, cross my heart and hope to die. And at that moment, I thought, I don't care what happens to you. Like, really, like, if you're going back to this house where there are all these red flags with this kid, there's not a good enough excuse for this character to be stuck here and dealing with ghosts and crazy Finn Wolfhard. Now, at the beginning of this movie, there was another film it was reminding me of. Because Jolie Richardson is in this film, and she plays Mackenzie Davis's mom in this nut house, where I guess she just hangs out in an empty swimming pool all day. Yeah. Did you ever see a movie called The Devil Inside?
That sounds familiar.
It's a found footage movie, and it's...
Was it recent?
No, like 5-6 years ago, maybe.
I mean, not that recent. I mean, like, like, kind of...
Yeah, it's not old, but it's the one where the cover has that possessed-looking nun on it that's only in it for a split second.
I don't think I saw
just an extra in a scene. It's a found footage movie.
Okay.
And it's kind of the king of bad January horror films.
Okay.
it's why a lot of horror movies kind of started coming out in January, because it got horrible reviews, horrible reaction from the audience, but cost next to nothing and made $30 million in its opening weekend, which after that, it's like, this is a dumping ground. Like, we don't have to wait till October necessarily to release something like this. Boom, put them in January.
Yeah.
So The Devil Inside starts out with this woman making this documentary that has to do with her mom, I believe, that was in this nut house, and it's an exorcism movie, or it's a possession film, and so the opening with her and her mom in this movie, Mackenzie Davis and Jolie Richardson, was reminding me a little bit of that. Okay. And I was thinking about it towards the end, because I'm like, that was almost foreshadowing how this movie ends. Because the reason why Devil Inside became as notorious as it is, at least as it was when it came out, is it had no ending. And I don't mean how, like, found footage movies usually end abruptly, because a lot of them do. This one, no, it straight up just felt like the third reel was missing from the movie. Yeah. And I saw that movie, Jared and I did, opening night, or maybe the Thursday showing or something, so it was packed, because the trailers for it were really good. Like, I'll give that to the movie. I can see why it made $30 million, because the trailers for it were good. And then when that ending happened, it just ends. Like, you expect it to go on for about 20 more minutes, and it just ends, and flashes this card on the screen, and goes, if you want to know more information, visit this website. The audience just booed. Like, the audience was furious. I laughed my ass off, because I was like, that's pretty funny. I laughed my ass off at it. And if you see this movie, make sure you're in an audience like that, which I don't know if that'll happen, because there was only one other guy in the theater we saw it with. He
was laughing a little bit in the beginning.
I'll mention him here in a second, but, like, if you happen to be at a packed screening of this, get ready, because there are going to be boos out the ass at the end of this movie. It's the same thing as The Devil Inside, where there's no ending. There's no third act to this movie. It reaches a point where, I don't know, the last few remaining pages of the script got burned, or it got lost on the way to the movie theater.
Or maybe it thought it was being clever, and it's leaving it up to interpretation.
No.
I know, but, like, I didn't think
it's bullshit.
But when it ended, I was like, huh?
Yeah, I kind of expected that.
And then the music that was playing, I was like, that was weird choice of music.
I wish I wasn't shocked by it, how it non-ended, because I would have been like, what? But I kind of expected it. I kind of expected it was going to pull a Devil Inside, because, again, I was already thinking about that movie from the beginning of this film, and when it it is someone ripped out pages of the book, burnt pages of the script, just ran out of money, and we can't shoot the ending of this film.
They do an ending, but then it's like a fake ending, and then it's like, oh, it was just a dream, and then it's just another ending, and it just stops, and then
it's a movie that just stops.
Yeah.
I wish that it did do, like, the Devil Inside thing, or just popped up a website at the end of it. Like, it's the 90s, so you gotta go to, like, a GeoCities page or something to find out info.
I was telling you, I was like, the effects and, like, the way this movie was shot and the way it was, like, I don't know, just the way the movie was, it reminded me of a 90s, early 2000s cheap.
Early 2000s, yeah.
Cheap, not early 90s, but late 90s, early 2000s cheap horror movie. Like, really cheap. That, like, when you see a Blockbuster and you'd be like, I don't know, I guess I'll check this out. It's PG-13, and I couldn't rent R-rated movies back then, so it's like, I guess I'll check this out.
If we're talking around, maybe it's appropriate, because there is a reboot of The Grudge playing in theaters right now. Like, yeah, if this was, like, early 2000s, when there was a lot of movies made riding off of The Ring and The Grudge and The Sixth Sense, then yeah, I'm like, yeah, I can see this movie kind of fitting along with that time on a script level, on a fake out dream sequence jump scare kind of level. It feels like something from 2000, from our day and age.
Oh, totally.
Like in how it's edited, how the script is.
Even the music during the end credits, it was like I don't know. The song was like felt really early 2000s. It was definitely something I would have picked out. That was a PG-13 horror movie on a Friday night where I had a late night with my friends, and we were like, let's watch this. That's something I would feel like I would be watching. And I lost my train of thought.
I feel like I saw this done. This also reminded me of The Boy, the one from a couple years ago.
See that
actually wasn't that bad. Like, at the least, it's like a solid rental.
The doll?
Yeah. It sort of reminded me of that, because it's kind of the same setup, where she goes to this house and is hired to look after, in that movie's case, that doll and treat it like a kid. That was done a lot better than this movie was. Like, that one, at the least, like, I went into it with low expectations, and it wasn't great, but I mean, it was okay. This felt like a lesser version of that, because that movie's not that old. But again, the guy sitting behind us was having a good time. There was one other guy in there, and at the beginning, when like the maid is showing Mackenzie Davis around, because they got to do the whole tour thing, like The Shining. And Mackenzie Davis says a joke, and the old lady's like, was that supposed to be a joke? The guy behind us was just like,
he's by himself. I'm sure he's a lonely man.
Oh, he wasn't by himself. He was there with his loud candy paper that he was rattling around through 30 minutes of this movie.
I guess I can appreciate the one positive thing I guess I can think about with this movie is, like, it does have a gothic atmosphere, which is nice, I guess. I don't know.
But all of these movies do.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of something nice. Like, there's a scene in the movie where, okay, so it's kind of towards the end not towards the end, but like, where she kind of knows that there's something off about, the kids in this house and stuff. And she's like, God damn, I have to stay here for the girl. But then they're like, okay, let's play flashlight tag. And it's like, okay, that's the perfect idea. Let's turn off all the lights and then go down in the basement.
Stupid. Again, I can't feel sorry for this character. Because one, she had a chance to leave. She doesn't. She goes back with these psychos and these ghosts in the house. And then, yeah, that's a great idea. Like, with this kid who watches me when I'm asleep and is gonna nail a tent peg into my head. Sure, why not? Let's play this game where we go around in the dark with flashlights. Oh, did he go in these underground tunnels? Best follow him in there. What's the worst that could happen?
I like how she, like, comes up the stairs and it's like the dining table. I'm like, is that underground tunnel just like right underneath their dining room?
I guess. This movie was not good at all.
It was stupid. But you know what you're watching. It's a January horror movie.
Even in those terms, where it's like, all right, I'm already kind of going in with not the best of expectations. This was even below that. This movie's not even finished. It's not even a full movie. It's 2/3 of a movie. I'll say this about The Grudge. It was a full movie. In fact, it was several different movies. Underwater was actually kind of missing a first act a little bit, but hey, at least it ended.
Since I'm a nanny and, like, if you want to get scared, watch this movie, I guess.
Sure. So you found this movie scary?
Well, I wouldn't do all these dumb decisions that she'd do. I'd be like, all right, I'm just going to call, like, child services instead of...
I liked because you were wincing during the spider scenes. I liked I think at this point the movie just knew it was messing with you. So you probably had your eyes closed. the part where it's going across his hand, and then he puts it in this.
I had my
cage.
legs up like this.
So you didn't see what happened?
I heard it.
Oh, okay. So he's got the spider in there, and I'm thinking, I don't know, is a lizard gonna come out and eat it? No. What happens is a much bigger spider falls on top of it. A tarantula comes down on top of it. I kind of laughed at that because I was like, well, now the movie's just messing with you.
What a great way to end my bad day at work.
Spiders and kids.
No, not just kids. I mean, like, kids that are terrorizing their caretaker. Honey. And I wasn't even feeling good. Like, I was like, I'm tired. I don't.
But Heidi, you've been looking forward to this.
No, I wasn't. I just agreed
weeks.
to go with you. And I need to take a shower. My hair's all greasy. I feel gross.
You look you are not gross. You could never be gross.
No, I feel gross. Oh, I can be gross.
No, you can't be gross. I can be gross. I'm always gross. I am sitting here with like 4 pounds of feces in my jeans.
All right, so I think I'm done talking about this movie.
All right. Oh, wait, there's tons more. All right, well, check out our worst movies of the year list. That's up now. Jared and I are going to see The Gentleman, and I think we're going to try to see this Chinese movie called The Rescue. So that'll be coming up this weekend. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching.